to hear is about a 4-year-old boy who lost his life during swimming lessons. His name, Israel Spencer Scott, better known as Izzy. And I reached out to Dori to see if I could help tell her story, kind of wrestle with it in regards to, do you tap in at this moment when a person is at one of their lowest moments? And then I said, yeah, I wanted to reach out to see if I could help. If a few more people hear about this tragedy, maybe some accountability and some laws can be changed to prevent this, hopefully, from happening to another family. So at first, I want to welcome you all here today. Walt and Dori, I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm sure it's hard. And for me, I just want to give the perspective that I come from. I really want this story to be told, to bring awareness to other people, because this is a tragedy and we need other people to be aware of what took place with your son, Izzy.
So my name is Lee Merritt, Leemerritt. I'm an attorney for the family of Izzy Scott. Below you have Walter Scott, Izzy's father, and Dori Scott, who are here to kind of tell you what they've been going through since Izzy passed.
Thank you so much. And again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to do this. It's kind of what took place that day, because I'm a parent myself, and I've taken my children to swimming classes. I've taken them swimming before, and quite naturally, we think that it will just kind of be a natural occurrence. Not much will happen. We trust the instructor. So if you all want to kind of give us just a short version of what took place that day and how it all kind of transpired, if you're comfortable with that.
Well, and the reason you see them hesitating, I've asked them to refrain from sort of laying out all the facts. Part of the reason I've asked them to do that is because they haven't been given a lot of information about what exactly happened. Now, what you've probably heard is that Dori took her 4.5-year-old son, Israel, to a swimming lessons in mid-June. This was a local instructor who had provided swimming lessons to the family before and was providing swimming lessons through her company for several children in the community using a personal pool at a particular address. And so this was Izzy's second day of swimming that his mother brought him by the pool. And she was told that she would have to wait outside because for the 4 and up class, parents are not allowed to be present. While she was outside, about 10 minutes before the class was supposed to end, someone knocked on her door and encouraged her to go check on her child. When she rushed into the pool, she found someone providing CPR or breathing techniques to her son, who was laid out on the ground. What happened at the end, how she went from dropping her son off at a swimming class with professionals present, with the understanding that he would be given professional swimming instructions, to that dramatic moment is still, unfortunately, a bit of a mystery. Burke County sheriffs for the region near Augusta, Georgia, are investigating what happened. They have reported to the family as they've gotten statements from a lot of people who were present and from the swimming instructor. But there still seems to be at least a 10-minute gap where no one knows where Izzy was until he was discovered at the deep end of the pool under the. But that is certainly negligence. In our opinion, that may very well be criminal negligence. And what the family is asking for is procedural justice. If a child is lost in a very foreseeable way, we know that water activities require certain safety mechanisms in place so that this doesn't happen. But when it does happen, there should be a thorough investigation and a presentation to the Burke County grand jury. And that grand jury will make a determination whether the instructor's actions violate the criminal statutes. And the family has hired my office to investigate whether they violated the civil statutes. And we are certainly certain that they have. And there will be civil liability as well.
Thank you for that. So let me ask you this, Attorney Lee, if you can give me some information. What would you what would you suggest to other parents that could be in this possible, situation? What do you suggest as far as different procedures with them saying, you can't be here, you can't be here once, the lessons start? What would you suggest that someone does in that situation?
Yeah, and so unfortunately, here the Scott family follow what is recommended to do. First, you want to find a class uh, uh, in an area that is reputable. And this woman has been performing swim classes in this region for several years, and it had provided swimming lessons for this family. She was overcrowded that day, and she does have a reputation of sometimes having more on her hands than she ought to. And we now, of course, caution families to look at the number of children in the class. I would simply refuse, and you have the right to, simply refuse to leave the classroom or leave the swimming pool if that's the policy. It's not an effective policy because you always want, particularly for swimmers in this particular position as such a young swimmer, you always want to set eyes on the children. And she was simply, in my opinion, from what I've learned so far, dealing with too many children and too many people to be able to keep her eyes on everybody for the time that's required.
Right, right. And this is in no way, of course, blaming anyone in this situation because people did, what they were instructed to do. Thank you for sharing that because it's just unfortunate when I heard about the story and I was looking into it, it just broke my heart on so many levels. And I'm just, I'm an advocate. So it's just a sense of like, what can we do as a community as a whole to help in this situation? Is there any way for people to like maybe give donations or
Sure.
anything towards the family to help out in this situation?
So there's three ways that people can help. The first, the family has recognized this as a community issue. This is an aquatic community, a place near waterways where we want children to have proper swimming lessons. And in a region, we've seen protests all throughout South Georgia about overfunding for law enforcement and not enough funding for summer activities for children, including a resource center where children can receive well supervised swimming lessons from the city instead of having classes like Lexi's, taking economic benefit from the community and putting the community at risk. So pressuring your city council members in both Burke County and outside across the country, because this is a national phenomenon of children drowning during the summer in ways that are completely unnecessary, to take that on. And it's something certainly the Scott family is taking on in the Burke County area and pushing in Izzy's name for more aquatic resources for the children in that community. The family has a GoFundMe up that is both help to cover the funeral costs, but also to build a legacy in Izzy's name in the Burke County community. And then we're asking for the prosecutor and the elected prosecutor in the region to do his job. The Burke County prosecutor has to gather the facts. If he's not satisfied with the narrative, then additional investigation needs to take place. But we need a thorough, accurate file, and we need that file presented to a grand jury in a timely manner so we can determine whether or not Lexi violated the statute. That's important both for justice in this case, but to send a message out to other service providers in the region that if you are negligent to the point that we're losing children like Izzy, there's going to be accountability. There's going to be criminal accountability. In that, we say Black Lives Matter. Izzy's life mattered, and it deserves the full strength of the protections offered to citizens in Burke County.
Yes, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Well, I appreciate you all. I know that you all have been doing a lot of interviews, and I just really appreciate you all's time today. I just really am very passionate about getting this story out and just spreading the word because Izzy is important, and people knowing this story is extremely important to me personally. And if you all want to share the GoFundMe link, you can send it to me later if you like. You have my email, or you can send it to me via Messenger, and I can definitely attach it to this when we put it out so people can donate and support you all for sure.
I'll make sure Susan gets that over, and I know I've dominated some of the responses here. One thing that's important, and I'm sure that you want to engage with the family with, is the emotional toll, how they've been treated through the process. Whether or not the prosecutor for the region has reached out, what their conversations with the sheriff has been like. All of those are really important, I think, to the people who are watching the case. to know if the family's getting the procedural justice that they deserve as full citizens. So if you want to explore any of that with them,
sure. If you all want to speak on that, how the process has been after, please do. Please share that, because I think that is important.
Sure.
So how do you all feel you've been treated throughout the process?
I'd say they were as professional as could be, but there were a few things that I wasn't necessarily ecstatic about, and I spoke with them about it. I guess first thing throughout the process, we ended up speaking to the coroner in this case before we spoke with the sheriff's department. And in my opinion, that's not the way that business should be conducted. And with that said, the swimming instructor was interviewed before we ever even had a conversation with the sheriff's department.
Oh, okay.
And, so I had a brief conversation with the sheriff's department after our initial interview, kind of telling them, because the conversation that we had when they came and they were interviewing us and asking us questions about the day of the incident, it kind of seemed like a heavy lean towards one side. And I think that was maybe the major benefit of them speaking with her prior to coming to us, because all of the conversation was specifically about how sad she was and how bad she felt about it. But I mean, none of that actually makes us feel better, and it definitely didn't bring our son back. So,
right. Dori?
I guess a lot of people, if they're not in our position, they don't really know what to say. Mm-hmm. So certain things like just got to me, like the chaplain told my husband, you have another son. Like, what's that to say to somebody that just lost their son? Like, it's not the same. And just, I don't know. I just kind of felt like my husband said, like, they were kind of one side, like they didn't see us. Like, they kind of got her side first, and, they were more sorrowful for her versus us. And we just lost a son. Like, that can never be replaced.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess people just, they don't know what to say. They don't know how we put on this face, but behind closed doors, we're ripped apart. I have to watch my son, my baby son, play by himself, things that he say, questions that he asks. I can't even hardly answer them. Like, it just tore our house apart.
Yeah.
It hurts.
And again, I'm sorry. And, and I understand that people may not know the path that you all are walking in right now, but it's still some things that's just natural human decency, right? And how to deal with people, especially someone that just lost a child. So again, I apologize for that. And, I really want to know, and I'm going to ask you this, Attorney Lee, what I know you talked about, different thing in legislation and stuff that people can kind of advocate for. What can we do as far as helping change laws? Because I guess for me, especially the last couple of years, I've just kind of grown exhausted by people not being accountable and being held accountable for different things that are taking place, especially within certain communities, right? I mean, we know for a fact that sometimes things are treated differently depending on, where you are as far as class, economically, and, where you live and who you are and what you look like. So what can we advocate for in regards to different actual change to make sure that things like this are people are held accountable? I guess that's what I'll say.
So the Office of District Attorney is the gatekeeper for accountability, both in Burke County and all throughout the country. And so my office has been a part of campaigns to push for progressive, community-oriented prosecutors who will focus less on mental health as a crime or poverty crimes, and focus more on accountability for serious neglect in our community, both for police officers who abuse their power, for corporate discrimination, for banks that take advantage of families. And here you have a business owner who is providing a resource to the county. It's actually, again, on the prosecutor to make sure that when doing something that is so inherently important as working with children, and inherently dangerous because you're working around water, that every safety mechanism is followed, not only because it's the right thing to do, but because the law requires it. And if the law is violated, or if there's probable cause that the crime has occurred in the jurisdiction, the prosecutor must respond the same every time. And then you get uniform accountability. We're not asking the prosecutor to respond because Izzy was a young Black child. We're saying that he should not fail to respond because he was only a 4.5-year-old young Black child. The prosecutor in Burke County is a newly elected, relatively young Black man. This is the reason we participate in elections. It's now incumbent on the community to reach out to his office. It doesn't have to be in a threatening or a hostile manner, but to simply demand that he follows his oath of office. Down in Brunswick, Georgia, where we're still working on the Ahmaud Arbery case. The second part of that case is holding Jackie Johnson, the Glenn County prosecutor who failed to bring criminal charges against the men who shot and killed Ahmaud Arbery, holding her accountable for failing to uphold her duty of office. What that reminds us all throughout Georgia and throughout the country is that they have a duty when they take those offices to respond to crime, to violations of the statutes in our jurisdiction. And so when you ask what the community should be doing, they should be demanding that the elected officials do their job.
Okay. Thank you. Walt and Dori, again, I appreciate you all. It was a little, I kind of staggered and thought, should I contact you or not? Because I never want to seem like, we're trying to, capitalize off of your story. But as a mother and as a person that works with children, I just was drawn to it. So I appreciate you all for taking the time. And I apologize again for anything that you all have endured that seems and is insensitive during this time. And my prayers go out to you all and your children, during this time. And I really, really, really cannot wait to see for you all to get the justice that you all are deserved. Attorney Lee, thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the work that you do in communities. I appreciate it. So thank you all again for your time.
Okay, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Take care.